Hello everybody and welcome to the Loft here in Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, Massachusetts. Hey guys, I'm Andrew. Let me just minimize this window over here. There we go, so I can see the chat. If you've been watching the last couple of days, I have been painting up, or I have been assembling Star Wars Legion in preparation for launch day tomorrow. I want to have a demo copy ready to go by tomorrow. I have it sort of kind of mostly ready to go. I have figures built. So we've got all of our Imperial troops, we've got all our Rebel troops, we've got Luke, and we've got Darth, and we've got some speeder bikes, and we've got the AT-RT, which is this big walker here. Sadly, this fellow is missing an arm because there was an arm missing out of the box that I opened. Tomorrow I will go online and request a replacement part for that, but for launch day he's going to just be missing an arm. That's fine. Mechanically it works. He just doesn't have an arm. But so I'm done building everything. We had a major disaster yesterday, however, and when I was priming the Imperial troops, 8 of them ended up getting hit with way too much primer. I don't know what happened. It was a brand new can of primer, and when I sprayed it on them, instead of going on in a fine mist, it blasted them and just obscured all the detail on the figures. It looks like they were just wrapped in foam. It's pretty dreadful. So they're in a shame box. They're soaking in some green clear so that I will have an opportunity to fix that. Hopefully tomorrow I can go in with a Q-tip and just wipe the paint off, reprime them. I'll probably have to rebase them and get going with them again. So I'm short 8 Imperial troops, which, that's fine. It is what it is. I've stressed enough about it. I want to actually do some painting. So yeah, let's actually jump in and start putting some paint on some models. I am really looking forward to painting some of the Rebels, just because they have a lot of cool detail to them. I think, however, that I'm going to postpone the Rebels and start in on the remaining Imperial troops I have, not the 8 that are in the shame box, but these fellows here. I'm going to start applying some paint to these guys. Oh, that's, the white is way, just because of the lighting there, it's sort of washed out. But yeah, we'll start out with getting some paint on some of these guys here, and maybe work a little bit on Rebels once I've got a little bit of a base coat on these guys first. So I'm gonna start out relatively simply with some black paint. I'm using this surface primer, which is like the most powerful black imaginable, just for a little bit of detail work. So get a little bit of that on my palette. A little of this stuff goes a long way. Yeah, it's like India ink. It is just super strong, super dark, and I'm using my favorite brush, which is just a Citadel layer brush. Gets me the right level of detail for most simple stuff. And I'm just going to dive in on these guys. Now I'll start on the face. So along the top of the ridge above the eyes, there should be a black line. The eyes themselves should be black. The mouth should be black, and the chin bits here should be black. So we'll start out with that. One piece of advice that I have learned is just be very delicate with getting paint on your brush. You don't need a lot to do this kind of detail work. So just a little paint on the brush. Just gonna go in here, get his eyeball, get the other side. Yep, just a little bit will do you there. And already he's looking a lot better. It might be too much on the brush. Okay, I'm gonna try and do so. Looking at the box here for reference. Yeah. There's this little upside down U shape on the chin. That should be black. So this little bit here. And then there are these two little side bits here that should be in black. Right in there. Okay. And then there's his frowny face. As you know, Imperial troopers are unhappy folk. So you just need a little frowny face here. There we go. And on the other side. Trying to be delicate with it. There we go. He's looking good. Okay. And then just across the crown here, there's, on Stormtroopers, they have a little divot here and a little divot here on the sides. Those should be gray, so I'm going to leave those for now. I might go in with some gray. I might just leave them alone, and when I do the wash, let the wash gray them. But there should be a line of black that goes across the forehead. This is going to be delicate work, so there we go. Just across here. Oh yeah. Delicate. Light little stroke here. Like a little unibrow. There you go. That's pretty good. Okay. And then there's a lot more black on these guys. I don't really know what detail I want to give to the backpack there. We'll figure that out as we go. He's got a blaster on his hip. That's probably going to be black, but maybe not as dark. Can use a dark gray for that. There should be in his joints, under his armor, should be black. So let's go in and try and get some of that done. So like under his knee here, just getting the tiniest bit of paint on the tip of my brush so that I can do this delicate work here. Of course, if I go over, that's fine, because all of these areas that I'm doing now are lower areas, so I'm going to be doing a coat of white over things, and that's going to be a much faster, because it doesn't have to be as precise. Yeah, I need more reference. Are his elbows? Alright, so you should have black inside anywhere that's not armor. So like inside his shoulders, in his armpits. Oops, got a little bit on his armor there, that's fine. Yeah, just like that. Nice. Gonna get his elbow over here, I think. When I had first started painting, which was about a year ago, I've only been doing this for a little while. My wife, who has been painting longer than I have on minis, was shocked and appalled because I would dip my brush repeatedly and get paint would begin to gather into the bristles between, because I wouldn't rinse as frequently as I ought. And the result was that my brushes were getting kind of destroyed. Is this in focus? I can't really tell from this angle. And then his underwear, there's a lot more of that, so it doesn't have to be as precise. I say his underwear, realizing that in Star Wars lore, there's Captain Phasma, of course, so there's nothing saying that this couldn't be a female trooper. So she's a little more imposing. Maybe female troopers are larger than your standard stormtrooper. I don't know. I'm just gonna get in the notch of his knee here. Right in there. I don't want to spend too much time on each unit. I only have 2 hours to paint today. And I don't want to get carried away because these are due tomorrow. But I hate the idea of leaving them, like, I don't know. I'm really, really upset, I have to admit, about the troops with the priming error. I don't know what happened with that primer. I don't know. I don't feel like I did anything wrong with the can. Maybe I didn't shake it enough. I don't know. Just very upsetting. I feel like he needs black in this space here to the side of his chest plate above his belt. Okay. And then the rest of him is going to be white and dark gray. I'll do dark gray for his rifle to start with. And then but before I do that, I'll move on to the next guy. So this is a piece of advice that I got from one of the experienced painters here before I started painting. His advice was, if you're doing a large army, and you're just starting out, and I consider myself still relatively new, you should, rather than painting all of each figure, you should do all of each detail one at a time. So by that I mean, like I'm doing here, do all the black bits, and then do all the gray bits. The idea being, over time, even within a single painting session, your technique is going to change. You'll get more, I don't know, you'll get more steady. That was a little bit more than I wanted to do for that, but that's fine. Whoop. So angry. So if you do everything all at once, they'll look more uniform than if you do one guy completely and then go in and do the next guy and the next. Oh man, I'm blopping paint everywhere. That's fine. For one thing, these are a demo army. For another thing, these are generic troopers. So I'd like them to be as precise as I can get them, but it's not going to terribly upset me if they're not perfect. There's unibrow. The other piece of advice that I got early on was paint bottom up. So start with the socks, if that's, the lowest layer of clothing, and then do anything that would be over the socks, so his trousers maybe, and then do anything that would be over that, so a belt, and then if there are pouches, do the pouches next. The reason being, if you go too far and blop over where you're intending to go, that will be okay when you do the next layer, which is going to be over the layer you're on. Oh, you know what? I didn't get that other guy's gloves. I'm fairly certain that their gloves are black. Yeah. Let's get this guy's gloves and then I'll go back to the other guy. I see what you did there, Gav. That was a fun pun there. When times are starkest. This is obviously a Game of Thrones song. So So today I can only paint until about 5 p.m. Eastern, so I'm only going to get 2 hours of painting done today, because, well, 2 reasons. One, there's a storm forecast for the area that I'm in. Quincy is where I have to get to tonight, where I live, and I'm in Abington right now. And there's supposed to be kind of stormy conditions this afternoon, or this evening. So I want to get my painting done and get on the road before things get too bad. But also, tonight is Wednesday, which means it is D&D day in the Abington location. And there are going to be people in the loft where I am right now. So I'd like to be out of their way by 5 o'clock. So we'll see how much I can get done in 2 hours. I'm not a fast painter. Never have been. And it's because I care a lot about detail, so I spend a lot of time doing these little bits to the best of my ability. Which, when you're painting a larger army, is maybe not the fastest way to do things. I could just do the most important bits and leave it to the wash to bring out a lot of the details. But I enjoy painting, and I enjoy doing these little finicky bits. It's kind of what attracts me to it, is these times when I'm concentrating hard on getting the paint where I want it to go. Oops, I just painted the handle of the gun, but that's fine, because I'm going to be going back and doing that in gray later. It's also such a microscopic detail. Nobody's ever going to know but me. Well, and you guys now. Alright, so I got his gloves. He's got his elbow, his armpits, his sides, and his underwear. Oh man, I got too much paint on the brush there. That's fine. One advantage, I don't know if you can see, he has some gray on him, where, because I was, after the first batch, where I was like, oh my god, this primer went everywhere, I was maybe a little conservative on priming the second batch. So there's a lot of areas here where he's got no primer right now. Alright, so here's a question. This area here, under his chest plate and over his belt, I'll just leave it white and let the wash differentiate it. I may revisit these fellows after launch day. So I may go back in and redo some of them to give them more detail than I have time to do between now and tomorrow. going everywhere. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, pretty good. I missed that other guy's gloves, so let's go back to him. If anybody's watching, please do hop in chat, because I would love to speak with anybody who's watching. His gloves, his fingertips. One of my favorite things about painting minis is discovering details in the model as you paint. So there's always a lot of, or at least in the good models, there's a lot of cool bits in the sculpt. Some of which you don't notice until you're putting that base coat on and you actually see those cool little details for the first time, and you're like, oh, that's so nifty. I just finished painting up for a painting and modeling competition thing that I was doing. A bunch of, or an ice troll, and he was so full of unexpected detail. It was a Reaper Bones figure. And at first when I started, I thought he was kind of basic. But as I painted, I kept discovering more details. He had this little chainmail bit on his loincloth. Had all sorts of... He had a nose ring and a hoop in his ear, and I didn't even see them when I was doing the base coat. I discovered them as I was doing detail work. I was like, oh, that's so cool. At first I thought the nose, or he had a lip ring, I'm sorry. And at first I was like, oh, that's weird. He's got a tooth that's punched through his lip, and I painted it as if it was a tooth. But then when I went back to look at it again, I was like, oh, that's not a tooth, that's a lip ring. And it was the same thing with his ear. I was like, what's this weird thing? This weird divot on his ear in the sculpt. And I decided, oh, it must be an earring. Okay, got his gloves. There we go. So, yeah, this is relaxing, but time consuming. Because at this rate, it's taken me about 10 minutes per guy to get all the detail that I want in black. Which means that it's going to be a lot more than that. I've got 5 basic stormtroopers, not counting the 8 that are in the shame box. And I've got 2 speeder bike riders that I want to do. And I've got of course Darth Vader. We got 2. So it's a lot of figures. When I get to the Rebels, I've got all 12 to paint because I don't have any that were destroyed by the primer. So eventually I'll have to paint those other 8 stormtroopers as well. So I don't know. I'm not a fast painter. I can't force myself to go any faster because I like doing what I'm doing. Thank you so much, Norender. I'm glad you think that they're coming along well. I don't know if you heard at the beginning of the stream, but I've had a bit of a disaster with my stormtroopers, which is that 8 out of the 12 stormtroopers ended up having a primer disaster, where the primer went onto them way too thick and it just filled in every crevice and destroyed all the detail on the model. It was... oh man. I don't know if I can express how disappointed I was in myself. I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do? So yeah, I'm gonna have to strip them all and redo them, and that's time that I'm going to have to spend on models that I don't have. I don't have time because these are supposed to be ready for tomorrow. On the other hand, there's nothing saying they have to be perfect by tomorrow. That's what I was saying about revisiting things. Yeah, I got some paint remover and they're just in a bath now. I'm going to leave them overnight and then tomorrow attack them with a Q-tip and see if I can get the primer out of the detail so that I can go back in and, I don't know, I'll have to reprime them, and then I'll have to do all of this with them. But c'est la vie. If everything went perfectly all the time, life wouldn't be as interesting. This guy's got no elbow pad in the sculpt. I'm really looking forward to doing the Rebels. There's a lot of interesting detail in them. The reason I decided to do the Imperials first, well, first of all, there's not as many of them. or there's not as many of them now because I ruined so many. So it was a smaller batch to work on when I have a limited time frame, since I have to be out of here by 5 o'clock. But I also wanted to force myself to hold off on the Rebels because I'm looking forward to them so much. I figure that inspires me to do more work on these guys. Because I want to get them done. Well, it'll force me to work more on these Imperial troops because I've got those Rebels to look forward to. I look forward to seeing you here for the launch event, Norender. I don't know who you are in the store. My plan is to put these guys out on the main 40K table, along with the quick start guide, so that folks who are curious about the game can come on up and try it out. So that's what I mean about these guys don't have to be perfect. They just have to be playable. The better they look, the more satisfied I'll be with it. But it's okay if they're not 100%. What is going on with this guy's thumb? This is the base of the gun there. That's the pad on the back of his hand. So this must be his thumb coming around the back here. Part of the reason I am not a fast painter is that I obsess about details like this. I'm doing the inside of his hand behind the gun where nobody is ever going to look. But I know. I'll know if it's not right. So I have to get it right. Some of these bits here I could just leave to the wash. They don't have to be very precise. It's the miracle of washes. You do what detail you can. And then as long as you've left the sculpt free of gloop, a lot of the detail will pop when you do a wash. Okay. I wonder about their boots. The box art doesn't help me much. I guess the soles of their feet are black. I'll do them in gray. We kept it gray. That was not a straight line. There we go. His other foot is well and truly planted on the ground, so I'm not going to touch it. That's three more. I don't think you don't I don't think, Norinder, you have to worry that much about the painting aspect. You don't have to do it as obsessively as I'm doing it. I think you can put a quick white coat on the white bits of these guys, or even just like I did a primer, and worry about and then just do a wash, and the wash will get down into the crevices and do a lot of what I'm doing, just not as dark. I don't feel like, I mean, the sculpts are nice enough, they have enough little details to them that if you just paint them white and then do a wash, if you paint them white omitting the areas that you want to be darker and then do a wash, it's going to fill in all those little gaps and make them look passable. I mean, they'll certainly be table ready. I don't think you need to obsess that much about detail. Certainly in terms of assembling them, they are pretty easy to build. If you watched my other streams of me putting everything together, most of the figures are only 2 or 3 pieces, so it's quite easy to construct them. And I didn't spend any time worrying about mold lines or flash or any of that stuff. I just painted, or I mean, I just glued. So they're well constructed. To be easy to assemble. Particularly with the Imperial troops, I feel like there's not a lot to worry about in terms of just getting them ready to play. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. Have a safe journey home. I feel like this storm is not going to be that cataclysmic, but again, I'm going to try and leave it like a little before 5 o'clock so that I can get home before the storm really starts getting bad. Getting all these bits in here that should be black. Together. This is the bit I'm most nervous about, because this is the only piece that's not molded in, is this unibrow. I'm giving them all across the top of there. Woo! There. Lovely. What do you think? Hopefully you can see... Oh, I didn't do his gloves. Keep forgetting their gloves. I guess there's 14 basic troopers of each type. So I've got 8 in the bath and 6 outside the bath for the Imperial troopers. I do love painting. It was difficult for me to... I don't have a lot of patience, and it took a long time to get all of these guys assembled I mean, relatively. It took probably 4 hours all told to assemble everything. But that includes doing the basing, and it includes a little extra time I took to figure out how to assemble, like, the ATRT and the land speeders. And I think because I'm streaming, it takes a little bit longer than normal. Just because I'm setting up the stream and I'm talking to you folks. So that adds a little bit of time to everything as well. I feel like little details like doing their gloves really bring these guys to life. Like, you could feasibly just blast these with a white primer, like I did, but not, in the bad way that I did for the other guys, where I completely destroyed them with the white primer. But you could feasibly just hit them with a white primer and do a black wash and call it a day, or a dark wash, do some Nuln Oil, and they'd pretty much be done. But I enjoy doing these little finer details, which probably is why I am not very fast when I'm painting. It's going everywhere, but that's fine. It's on the inside of his hand, again, where nobody but me is ever going to see it. Let's get his other elbow here. There we go. Alright. They're coming along. That's terrible. Oh my goodness. I got way too much paint on the brush there, and it just filled his eye socket. It's fine. When I go back in with the white, I'll have to go around the outside of the eye socket there to fix that. Already thinking I'm gonna have to do a dry brush across the mouthpiece here, and making it too dark. But I'm committed now. I've already started, I can't go back. Chin here. Okay, let's do that unibrow. My feed of the Twitch stream seems to have died on my phone here, so if anybody's talking in chat, sorry if I'm not replying. There we go. Okay, his underoos. Brush has an errant bristle that's bugging me now. There we go. Hopefully I'm not going to regret having all these areas here that are not as well primed as the other bits. I just got so paranoid after the first figures that I hit with the white primer were so badly mucked up. So I went really light with the primer on these guys, with the result that you can see there's a lot of gray areas there where there's no primer. Hopefully it'll be okay in the end. So my feeling with regard to this demo set, there's other folks at Battleground working on demo sets for Star Wars Legion, because we want to have a demo set available in each of our 3 locations. So I'm not the only one doing this. I am definitely, of the three of us, the most amateur. And I'm hoping that that's okay. I'm not going to be the most detailed. My figures are not going to be the most stellar of the ones that you'll see in Battleground. But my thinking is there's two kinds of demos that you could have. One is what you'll probably see at the other stores, which is this is what a almost professional level painter is capable of doing. And because we ordered in large enough quantities in Norton, we got a advance copy for us to paint for that. So that set has been in the painter's hands for, I think, a week. I think we got it a week ahead of time, giving that painter a little bit more time to work on it. So for that set, I would expect it will be an example of, this is like maybe not the pinnacle, but this is something to strive towards. These are this is what you could accomplish if you paint really, really well. Whereas my figures, the ones that I'm working on right now, these fellows, are not going to be as detailed. They're not going to be as accomplished. I'm just not as experienced a painter. There's going to be techniques that I'm not going to have time or the ability to accomplish. Like, I have very, very limited experience with dry brushing and wet brushing, and those are sort of the kind of techniques you need after the wash to do really stellar detail, and I'm just not as good at that. I don't have as much practice. Like I said way back at the beginning of this stream, I've only been painting for about a year now. So my models, in my mind, as a demo set, are going to be something that you can look at and say, if you're an accomplished painter, I can probably do better than that. And maybe that makes you feel good. Maybe that makes you want to do better. Is you look at what I've done and you say, okay, those are fine, but I know mine are going to look better than that demo set when I'm done with them. And I feel like that might be a good thing. To have that sense that, sure, you can do better than the person who painted those for the store. When I am done with this guy, and oh well, I guess I'll do the two speeder bike riders as well. But when I'm done with all of these guys with the black, I'm going to get some gray and work on that. Making progress here. Okay. I think he's looking all right. Aside from the eyes, where I kind of went too heavy. This is the last of the non-destroyed stormtroopers here. I think part of the reason these last couple of guys are being more of a challenge for me is that the paint on my palette is beginning to dry out a little bit. But I think I've got enough that I can get the last few details on this guy and the other two troopers who are left. Yeesh. Go. Still haven't decided what to do with their backpacks. These two guys with the giant gun, they have a backpack with a lot of cool doodads and dit dots on it, and I just don't know what I want to do with that. There's no rapture for me. Gotta get their tush. Gotta get their little stormtrooper behinds. Make sure that you do their underwear, because otherwise their commando's going commando. Yeah. No. That'll do for now on those. Let's get his gloves. I will say, painting is very relaxing. I mean, I feel like I took on a lot with this task, and it has caused me a little bit of stress. And I had this disaster where the primer on the other stormtroopers ruined them, and it stressed me out a little bit. But just doing this, getting these little details, spending some time with a model and some paint and a brush, this is very relaxing. It helps to reduce the stress. I think it's also a deep breathing thing, because you have to breathe in and hold your breath to a degree when you're doing the finer details. So probably that's, it's a meditation technique thing. Just breathe, hold it, get those details. So it's 4 o'clock now. I've been doing about an hour. And I've gotten some detail on 6 stormtroopers. Oh, I didn't give him a unibrow. My brushes. There we go. It's just separating a little bit at the tip, which is very annoying when you're doing fine detail work. Fine. That's fine. Okay. Let's look at the speeder bike riders. So I have assembled the speeder bikes and the riders and primed them separately. So the speeder bikes are primed in gray and the riders are primed in white, just as a shortcut. Makes it a little easier to do what I want to be able to do. Yep. Dropping him on the floor is not what I want to do. What I do want to do is get just an itty bitty bit of paint on my brush, reach in there and get his goggles. Come on. Not quite what I'm going for here. I feel like the paint isn't going where I want it. There we go. That'll do. That'll do. Maybe get a little bit more on the right-hand side there. Pretty good. Now, do I have some art reference for speeder bike rider? Not really. Just curious if I should hit the front of his schnoz there with a little bit of black. Well, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I am going to paint his throat area black. Get his underarms. He's got some pouches and stuff. I have to get some extra colors for him. Unlike the other stormtroopers, you can see he's got like a shirt on here. I don't want to do it just in black. I'm going to do that in, I don't know, maybe brown. I'll do his pouches in a lighter brown. He's just got a lot more detail to him. Yeah, he's got trousers on. Yeah, he's got a lot more interesting bits to him. Definitely going to do his gloves black, though. So, when I was building the AT-RT yesterday, we discovered that I'm missing one of the arms of the AT-RT driver. And I think it was just not in the box. I don't think I lost it. But today, when I was testing out how the speeder bikes went together, because obviously I primed this guy separate from the speeder bike, I began to get paranoid. I began to think, what if this arm, what if that's the AT-RT driver's arm? But the ATRT driver is not wearing a big glove like this on his other hand. So I think I'm safe. I think I can pretty confidently say that this arm belongs to a speeder bike driver and not to an ATRT driver. So tomorrow, I'm going to come in at like 9 o'clock, which gives me 3 hours before the store opens to do some more painting. I don't feel like 3 hours is going to be enough time to do all the Rebels, but it'll be time to put some paint on all the Rebels. I'm not going to bother doing anything with that, but he's got a sort of band across the back of his glove here. That's what I was talking about with discovering details in the mold while you're painting. I mean, I guess he could have... Yeah, you can see it better here. He's got this band across the back of his glove. I could do that in white or something. But no time, no time. Finish his gloves off. Move on to the last fellow. I hope I don't get caught in traffic on the way home. I'm not worried about the storm, but I feel like enough people might be, or might get out of work early, that I could get caught in traffic on my drive. Stressed because my car has been having problems, and I don't want to get caught in traffic if it's going to stall out on me. Yeah, nothing I can do about it. Just gotta hope I can get home without incident. done with this fellow. We'll get on to the last Imperial, which is the other land speeder rider. Okay. Good. He's good. One more. Let's see how. I'm upset with this. I thought when I molded him on, he would have his feet on the pedals, but his feet don't reach the pedals. So, I'm probably just going to leave it the way it is. That went pretty well. Boop his snoot there. Sure, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Making progress. This guy's got much more traditional stormtrooper armor than the other guy. He's definitely got... Oh, maybe I should do their boots. What do you think? Should I do their boots the same color as I did their gloves? I feel like maybe their boots and gloves should be gray, but then I'm doing their pistols in gray, so yeah. Actually, I'm going to need a little bit more paint. I was thinking I might have enough on my palette to get me through. He's actually got a strap there holding on his shoulder pad. We'll see if I have the patience to do something about that later. Okay. No, I'm being super quiet now. I'm just lost in the painting. Hope you all are enjoying the miracle of sound music. Could be a fun game to guess what song or what game or movie each song references, if you don't know already. That last one was a Prince of Persia song. Okay. Here's other glove. And we'll say we're done with the first batch of bits on these guys. I wish I had a couple more weeks to spend on these. I mean, technically, I suppose I do. There's nothing saying I can't go back and continue to work on them after launch day. There's a lot of fun little details that I'd like to bring out. Very quiet in chat. I'm almost done with what I want to do with this guy here. For now, obviously. There's a lot more I want to do. but I'm almost done applying the black coat. There. Lovely. So he's ready to ride a speeder bike. Then we've got this fellow. So, alright. He's got the chain that holds his cowl or his cape on. I could do his eyes. You don't want to go too dark black, although obviously, you know, black is his thing. His under outfit there should be gray, I believe. I think I'm going to do his gloves in black, his boots in black, his crotch bit in black. Do his under stuff in gray. His eyes. Oh gracious. Got a bit of grit there. It came off somebody's base. The problem with doing everything in black on Vader is it leaves you nowhere to go. How much more black can you make him? And the answer is none. None more black. So I don't want to go uniformly too black, because it just won't work ultimately. You can go dark, but not completely black. His chest panel, I'll want to do a couple of different lights on. Cog piece. Do his boots. Some interesting detail on Vader's boots here, which is going to be lost because when you've got this much black, just contrast disappears. It's okay. I think I need 3 different dark colors for Vader. Like this black that I'm doing now, I need a charcoal gray, like a dark gray for his cloak and his cape. And then I need a lighter gray, which I might just leave the primer. I used a gray primer on him, so I might just leave that as is. I'm a little upset that he popped off his base. I was trying to test attaching his head to the body, and when I was forcing it in, because there's a little bit of primer in there, but when I was forcing it in, he popped off his base, which is whatever. It's almost a relief to be doing broader, wider spaces now. I can get a little more paint on my brush. There we go. Okay, so that's his boots, little booties. Let's do his gloves. I'll do the hilt of his saber in silver. His saber itself, of course, red, with a red technical. I've got the ruby red technical from Games Workshop that I can do on his boot, or on his lightsaber, to make it look more lightsabery, I think. Touched his boot. did get a little paint on my hands, which is fine. That's gonna happen. .30ish right now. This is a Battle of the Five Armies song, I believe. Is anybody ever going to notice if I don't get the inside of the back of his thumb? Probably not. But I would know. I can almost hear that subwoofery force noise. Oh, Vader, where'd you go? Lost my grip. Oop, went outside the lines there. So, I think that came out pretty well. I'm gonna do just his chest piece here. Oh, maybe the edge of his cowl here? Yeah. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Yes, this is an Overwatch song. I have to look up some reference for his chest panel to see what color the lights should be. I feel like some of them are white, some of them are red. Also need some reference for his belt. Alright. Let's, just for fun, do his lightsaber. I'm going to use gunmetal for the hilt of his lightsaber and for his collar, or you know, the chain that runs across the front of his cowl. Gunmetal is amazing stuff because it's just a tiny touch of it. Comes across so well. Woo. There we go. That's good. And then the hilt of his lightsaber. I apologize for any language that you guys are hearing from downstairs. Oop. Yep, that's fine. Largely. There we go. That's pretty good. I'll probably do a wash later, which will get, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see where the paint on the hilt of his lightsaber here is going up onto his gloves. A wash will solve that problem though. Okay, let's get some red. I'm going to use some Evil Sun Scarlet as the base layer for his lightsaber. I will almost definitely go over it at a later date with the Ruby Technical. But this is just for fun. Just for fun. Let's make his lightsaber red. Trying to get up to the hilt there. There we go. Okay. Going home. This is Gav's David Bowie song, and so good. I'll do a second coat later, but there. That really pops. Ah, it looks so good. It looks so good. That was fun. I'm glad I did that. Okay. Do I have a dark charcoal gray? Let's look. I think I have Castle Gray, which is a lighter gray. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Where's my... I have a wash, but I don't need a wash. Dark gray. I seem to remember this looking kind of glossy though when I used it. And I don't want... Well, I could use this on the helmet. Let's do that. Let's use this on the helmet. It's essentially black. I think it's too dark. Too dark. Not gonna do that. Okay. What else have I got? Necromancer Cloak. Well, I mean, Darth Vader, he's kinda... Well, he's not a necromancer. But he's obsessed with death. I think that works. I think we're gonna do Necromancer Cloak for his cloak and his cape. Yeah, look at that. this is not... I think I didn't shake it enough. So one of the folks that I have been hosting on this channel, and a person who has watched us as we've been painting in the past couple of weeks, is a fellow who goes by Paint with Penny on his stream. And Penny has a jigsaw that he's rigged with a clamp he can stick onto a paint pot, and he just puts the paint pot on there and turns on the jigsaw, and it revs and shakes the paint pot. And I'm like, man, that sounds useful. I'm just gonna get a fresh palette, get rid of this. We were doing under his cloak here. Oh, that's much better. Still a little watery, but better. This is not an area that's going to get a lot of attention from players, so yeah, I can go a little faster and looser here. You can see how it's not adhering. This may be an area where the primer didn't get. Because the gray plastic is pretty much the same color as the gray primer I used. Might have to do a second coat of this, which is fine. It's just not sticking. Guess I'm glad he popped off his base, because I couldn't get these areas if he was still on his base. So, small blessings. Yeah, definitely not sticking there. It's okay. And the back of this is going to be completely obscured when I put his head on. You can see how his cape just completely covers this whole area. So I can be as messy as I want to be. Sounds like the gym next door is starting up their noisemakers. I don't know if you guys can hear that bass, but I'm certainly getting something here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, this is going to be completely obscured. I don't know why I'm even bothering. But, yeah. I'm obsessed with that kind of detail, I suppose. Definitely beginning to look Vader-y. I'm looking forward to doing Luke. Luke's got a lot of cool detail. I still haven't fully decided what color palette to do Luke in. I primed him in gray. I feel like he's dressed in his Return of the Jedi regalia, which means he's also in a lot of blacks and grays. The big choice, of course, is what color lightsaber does Luke have? If I decide to do him as Return of the Jedi, he has a green lightsaber. If I decide to do him as Empire Strikes Back Luke, he has a blue lightsaber. These are the difficult choices that a painter has to make. Okay, so that's Vader's undergarb. Actually, I think this should be the same color here, but that is 100% obscured by his cape. Should I do his belt in a different color, is the question. wash on this afterwards. Okay. Let that dry for a moment. Let's do the rest of his cape. Eh, 5 o'clock. I'm gonna get caught in traffic. Is anybody out there? Is it snowing yet? I'm actually surprised nobody has come to take over the loft yet. I think perhaps we may have a quiet day for D&D tonight if people are already scared off. This song. I love this song. This is Gav's Stranger Things song, and it's so good. So good. If there's anybody out there who has not already started following Miracle of Sound, you should be following Miracle of Sound. Just globbing it on now. That's fine. Definitely want to do a wash on this later. It'll get rid of some of these brush strokes, and it'll settle into the crevices on the cloak to make it look more impressive. Stranger. There we go. I'm gonna lay this down to dry. Still haven't decided what to do about his helmet. Difficult choices. But he's coming together. So there's Vader. Here's Luke. So he looks very much like he's in his Return of the Jedi garb, which says to me grays and blacks. Which is not super exciting, but he's got a blaster on his hip, some pouches and stuff on his belt. I'll work on him tomorrow. Well, it's later than I wanted it to be, so I'm probably going to call it a day. I will be here bright and early tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. Take 3 hours to do some more painting, maybe get some details onto some of the rebel troopers. They're going to be a lot of fun. It's 100% certain that this is not all going to be done in time for tomorrow evening. It's just not happening. But I'm certainly having a lot of fun painting these things. I love the detail of the models, and I look forward to doing more work on them. So, thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you've had some fun. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I should say thank you to Mujedi, who subscribed overnight last night, or followed. We haven't gotten any new subscriptions in a little while, so that's fine. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and have a pleasant evening. Bye, everybody.